Tintin, Snowy and Captain Haddock are facing their greatest challenge. Their country, Belgium, is in deep trouble. Its two constituent peoples, the industrious Flemish and the rather easygoing socialist French-speaking Walloons, can't even agree on what Belgium stands for. The country went for almost a year without a government because its two peoples were bickering. And now, to make things worse, some people in Flanders would like to secede altogether, which means that Belgium might just disappear. Welcome to a very surrealist edition of Holy Cows, where we ask the question of whether Belgium deserves to exist at all. And if it doesn't, shouldn't Belgium just give up the ghost? Mes amis, what is this? Could this possibly be the fabled Belgian spirit of national identity? Oh mon Dieu, no, it is a Brussels sprout. I'm sure you'll agree this is hardly a reason to keep a country going, hardly an excuse to keep a country going for a sprout. But it is not the sprout that is a problem. It is the political structure of Belgium that is totally unreal. I'm all for small government myself, but from what I understand, the problem in Belgium happens to be the fact that the two constituent peoples of Belgium, the Flemish in the north and the Wallon, or Walloon, how do you call them? Walloons?
I think that's about right, yes.
Is it? Okay, the Walloons in the south, the French speakers, they don't seem to have a common view of what Belgium should be. Could you give us some idea of what the problem of Belgium is?
Well, fundamentally, the French speakers rely far too much on welfare. It's a client state. They expect the northerners to pay lots of tax in order to keep them in their living. And it's just like we have in Britain. We have pockets of the UK which very much depends on welfare. And actually that's unsustainable in the long run, and in Belgium especially so.
And they have that very strange system whereby all governments must be 50% Flemish, 50% Walloon, and also any major decisions must be approved by 50% of the population of each one of the nations, which basically means, given that the Walloons are a minority has got the veto power over the whole country, right?
Yes, it's completely bonkers.
The signs of Belgium's demise have been on the wall for some time. Whereas other countries like the UK have got national heroes like Queen Victoria or war heroes like Admiral Nelson, Belgium's heroes were strictly unreal. Take Hercule Poirot, for example. Very clever detective, but the man is a fictional character. And Tintin and Snowy, I love them dearly, I grew up on them, but they're comic strip characters. And when it comes to reality, their main artists, the most famous Belgian artist, René Magritte, surprise, surprise, was a surrealist. If you ask me, I think Belgium has had a big problem with reality. Is Belgium nothing more than a brewery that's been mistaken for a nation state?
I wouldn't go that far.
The collapse of Belgium, what does that mean to the EU?
Oh, it would be a stake in the heart. It would be a symbol to the entire world that this decision to put peoples who frankly don't agree with each other, different cultures, all in one pot and assume that they're one single entity, frankly doesn't work.
Alex, if Belgium were to disappear, would anybody honestly care?
Not really, except in two respects. One is, we would still expect to have our Duvel beer. And as long as that was still available when we go into the supermarket, we'll be happy. Second, what would we call the Brussels sprout?
That is correct. I actually have one here. And I'm actually wondering, could this be the last remaining artifact of a lost civilization? Would one day people talk about Belgium like they talk about Atlantis? Did it ever exist? And would this be the only thing that sort of keeps a link with it?
You know, I think these are one of God's greatest inventions.
I love them.
Everyone hates them, apart from the two of us.
Yes.
But they're fantastic.
And my dog.
You just need to overcook them slightly, and then they're nice and soft, and they taste wonderful.
I wish somebody could do this to the EU. Maybe they just overcook it, and then it'll just fall apart.
What a good idea.
I personally will miss Belgium, because like any imaginary country in a fairy tale, it made me dream. Tintin and Snowy, however unpolitically correct they were my childhood companions. But if Belgium doesn't want to exist, then let it break up. I mean, its story is more of a nightmare than a dream anyway. And if we can't keep a country going just because it makes great beer, mussels and chips. But if Belgium does go the way of the dodo, then I do have one favor to ask. That its seat at the UN be given to InBev, which after its takeover of Anheuser-Busch has become the world's largest brewer. InBev is a joint Brazilian-Belgian concern, which means General Assemblies at the UN will finally become fun with all that free beer flowing to a wonderful Brazilian beat. If you ask me, if Belgium's disappearance means the disappearance of the EU and a more relevant UN, then Belgium's disappearance is a force for good.